Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. In tonight's show, we're going to be looking at the Egyptian presidential elections. Now, the Egyptians abroad voted for the elections since the 1st and the 2nd and the 3rd of December, and Egyptians here in Egypt will be voting in less than a week from the 10th to the 12th of December. So we will be focusing on the Egyptian elections, also the role of the women voters within the elections. But before we start doing that, let's check out some of the main stories making the news today. Now, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said that the international community must shoulder its responsibilities to reach a ceasefire in Gaza. He said Egypt is ready to receive and coordinate all international aid being sent to Gaza. El-Sisi was speaking during a meeting with the visiting Cypriot President Nikos Christodoulidis in Cairo. During the talks, El-Sisi said there is a need for international action to be implemented and implement the two-state solution and establish a Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. He said this is the path to achieving peace, security and stability in the region. For his part, the Cypriot president said he values the Egyptian efforts to calm the situation, adding that Cyprus is keen on continued coordination with Egypt in this regard, especially in light of the joint vision between the two sides. During the meeting, both sides expressed keenness on cementing bilateral ties on the bilateral level and through the three-way cooperation mechanism, which brings together Egypt, Cyprus and Greece. This was the main story making the news today, but now turning our attention to tonight's topic, let's check out this report regarding the Egyptians abroad participating in the presidential elections. The results are not out yet, but the vote counting has started yesterday and it is to be sent to the National Election Authority. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
Egypt's National Election Authority (NEA) announced the completion of the voting phase for Egyptians abroad in 2024 presidential elections. The authority said the votes counting had been completed as well, adding that the number of valid votes obtained by each presidential candidate was determined and recorded in the documents and attached to all electoral process papers in sealed envelopes and sent to the NEA through Egypt's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Egyptian elections abroad was conducted according to the electoral process over the days of the 1st, 2nd and 3rd of December 2023 at the headquarters of Egyptian diplomatic missions, including embassies and consulates spread around the world. The polling committees in elections for Egyptians abroad were headed by ambassadors and consuls, assisted by members of the diplomatic missions in implementation of the provisions of the law regulating presidential elections. The electoral process was conducted in 137 electoral centers distributed in 121 countries around the world. The electoral headquarters were provided with all necessary equipment to ensure the proper conduct of the electoral process in its various procedures, facilitation for voters, and transparency and integrity of voting. The National Elections Authority directed that voting be conducted using the national ID card even if it is expired or through a valid passport including the national ID. The authority also created the Braille voting cards to make it easier to blind voters who wish to cast their votes in order to enable them to exercise their rights and participate. The electoral center equipment included sufficient number of glass boxes designed for voting inside each center, and places equipped with curtains inside which the voter casts his vote in a way that achieves the secrecy of the ballot. Egyptian embassies and consulates abroad have opened their doors to receive voters wishing to cast their votes on the specified voting dates starting from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. over the 3 voting days. According to the National Elections Authority Operations Room, a significant demand among Egyptian citizens was noticed, whether residing outside the country or visitors, to participate and cast their votes. The Commission's Operations Room was keen to maintain constant and continuous communication with the embassies and consulates where elections were held to find out all developments and whether there were any obstacles or problems in the electoral process or complaints received by diplomats supervising the elections from citizens regarding the vote.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're joined here tonight in the studio by Dr. Nevine Makram Labib, the Professor of Artificial Intelligence and also the Director of the Social and Cultural Planning Center, the Institute of National Planning. Dr. Labib, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much for your kind invitation. It's always a pleasure.
My pleasure is ours. Dr. Labib, now, already the presidential elections abroad took place over the past few days. The vote counting has started, and in less than a week, the voting process will be taking place here in Egypt. Now, how important, if we're talking about the voting abroad for Egyptian expatriates living abroad, now how important, how integral has that been during the previous elections, the previous presidential elections, parliamentarian elections that have been taking place over the past few years?
Actually, we've seen that the expats, or let's say the Egyptians that are living abroad, were very keen to vote. And that's definitely a very good sign. It shows that they still have the sense of belonging to our beloved country. And I see this as a very positive sign. In addition to seeing that they have a say and they're responsible and they're seeing that they can contribute to the social, to an inclusion here, to the public policies and various domains, they can make a difference.
Yes. Well, Dr. Labib, you're a professor of artificial intelligence. You're an expert in that field. So it begs the question, is there room for artificial intelligence to be implemented in the voting process, be it abroad or here in Egypt? And how really beneficial would that be for the process?
Definitely. We could have made use of the data analytics framework. I mean by this that we could have used the other figures in the previous elections so as to be able to predict the numbers and the voting and the problems that may be encountered, so as to have some scenarios and then to be proactive in dealing with these scenarios, whether good or bad. So maybe we can make use of artificial intelligence and of data analytics next time.
And it would be obviously beneficial as well for the candidates during their campaigns if they can actually use the same sort of data that could be garnered as a result of artificial intelligence in campaigning, knowing exactly who to target, who would be their main voters, the clusters, so they actually know the targets that they would campaign for.
Yes, it could have been used for classification and clustering. So whether to know whom to target, how to target these people, how to explain their programs, how to explain their initiatives, and so on. So it's definitely very beneficial for both sides.
Well, there has been some sort of a command center for that used to monitor the elections taking place abroad through audio and visuals as well. So it is the use of technology that is being heavily, really depending strongly on technology in terms of monitoring the voting process, putting it in a certain order, following up on the latest developments. If there are obstacles or problems, they would be overcome. How important has the technological aspect of the elections process been over the past few years?
I think with the use of social media, things are becoming much better, especially for voters. So they're more aware of the programs, of the different candidates. They're more aware of how to do the voting. I mean, to talk about the voting process itself. And I think it was better for our image as a country because it provided some transparency, which is very important. Because sometimes with the social media, we have some negative thoughts. And we have some people, or let's say some posts to be more objective, not subjective, talking about things that never happened in the voting process. So maybe using the technology, using the social media, this can be a weapon so as to help us to fight these thoughts, these negative thoughts again, that are against our country.
Well, we've seen also for the four candidates, the four presidential candidates, they traveled around different governorates and had their conferences and their campaigning. But do you think that social media might be even much more of a useful tool to actually really have as a campaigning tool for the four presidential candidates? Do you think they made the most out of such a tool?
Not really. Maybe they could have made it in a better or in a more enhanced way. But they needed to know more about the people, about those who should vote or those who are expected to vote, in order to be able to explain their programs, their initiatives, their achievements, and so on. So maybe they should make better use of it, better use of all of the AI tools, not only the IT tools.
Well, whenever we talk about elections, people classify the communities and the societies into citizens, working men and women, the women, people with special needs, the youth. Who do you think should be the main sort of the main class of the citizens that would be targeted to vote? The youth more inclined to participate in the voting, the women, people with special needs? What have been the efforts exerted by the government to really encourage all sectors of societies to participate in the polling stations?
I think that all segments are very important, but if I were to choose or even to prioritize, I would go for the youth, because they care about the country, and they're trying to feel responsible, and they should feel that they have an impact, because they used to feel kind of excluded, but now they feel that they're part of the society, and that again they have a say. So maybe we should focus on the youth.
Well, do you feel that, I mean, since 2011, when the revolution took place, it was mainly the youth who were driving the whole process, and we've seen the youth having a much deeper and a bigger interest in politics and political life in general. Do you feel that that momentum is still there for the youth, or did it decrease a little bit?
No, I feel that it is still there, especially with all the initiatives that are targeting the youth, and with our country caring about education and about training. I mean, we have several initiatives related to teaching and training of the youth in order to enable them to the workplace. And that's something that I'm always proud of whenever I go to any country. because we have youth and we have well-educated youth, and we have people that want to make them better.
Dr. Labib, now you're the Director of Social and Cultural Planning, and whenever the Centre observes that there are presidential elections coming up, what is high on the agenda for such an event? What sort of seminars, what sort of training, what sort of campaigning or awareness campaigns that are being taken, that are held to encourage people to participate within the presidential process? I mean, now you're anticipating the presidential elections. What does the Centre focus on? What is high on the agenda?
Actually, we're focusing on the youth and women, especially with the women political empowerment. And that's a very important issue in Egypt. So we held 2 seminars related to the youth, again, in order to educate them on how to make use of the ChatGPT and the generative artificial intelligence for the workplace, and how to enable them to work not only in the local market, but in the global market. So it was kind of awareness related to artificial intelligence and data science. And now we're working on the women empowerment. What about women empowerment? Why is it important? What about the political empowerment, not only the economic empowerment? So these are the 2 points of focus for us in the Centre.
Well, we've been talking, I mean, we spoke about economic empowerment and enabling and empowering women, having their own businesses, their own startups. But what about the political empowerment? Because the women's role has been quite dominant within the political life since 2011, and we've seen the number of women participating in demonstrations and polling stations, and over the past few years a lot of initiatives have been working on empowering them economically and really integrating them within the workforce. So what about the political empowerment? So how are we encouraging women to be more politically empowered, especially at a critical time such as the presidential elections?
Actually, we should educate women and educate the society as well, because sometimes the stereotyping makes, the women away from any social or any political life, because they're saying that this is only related to men. So they're still underrepresented in the political life with all the figures. So maybe we should focus on educating both sides, because sometimes society, for them or our community does not accept this. Maybe they still perceive women in different roles, in more traditional ones. So we need them to perceive women in maybe a better way, because a woman is a mother, she's a wife, she's everything, but she still can be a political leader. She can help her country become better.
And do the women realize as well that making these political choices can directly or indirectly affect their livelihood, their work environment, the way of living, how they can raise their kids, how they can run their businesses? Do they understand, or not just the women but the whole society, do they understand that their political choices, their voting or not voting, can actually directly or indirectly affect the style of life they live?
Not all of them. I think it all depends on the education level. So, for example, we had some conversations last week, and some of the women felt that no need to go and vote, and then things are okay, and then the men will go, whereas others felt that they should go and they should encourage their family members to go. So they think that they have a role, and that they should be there in order to provide policies that will help make their lives better, and then their family lives better.
And when we speak about women, which age group are we talking about? Are younger ladies, are they considered among the youth, or are they being considered among the women? Do they have the same sort of interest in the political life as older women, or is it vice versa? How does this work, the classification of it?
From my experience, it's more like the middle-aged. because the other ones are considered youth for us, and they have different dreams and different needs. Whereas for middle-aged and older, they see it from a different perspective. They're more towards having new policies because maybe they suffered a lot in the past decades.
Yes.
And now they're aiming at, at finding some solutions to the current challenges.
So would you say that the main obstacles that women would face in terms of empowering them politically or participating within the political life, is it an awareness problem? Is it an awareness obstacle? Is it an obstacle that is mainly related to women, or is it a societal one? Is it a cultural one that really has the women, the men, everyone involved?
No, it's a cultural aspect. It's not only the woman, but the woman, her family, her society, the workplace. It's a full system. As we say, it's the super system that surrounds women. That's why we need to change this. And this requires, again, a new mindset that should be conducted through awareness campaigns, not only targeting women, but targeting the whole society, because the society have to perceive women in a different way. They can see that these women can contribute to a better world for all.
Yes.
Because sometimes, women empowerment has a negative image, and that's related to media, by the way.
Yes. Well, what sort of a negative image that is being portrayed by the media? Is it through, TV series, drama? Is it through the lack of awareness campaigns? Is it not a self-censorship, but a self-doubting of the role of women within the society?
Yes, kind of. Some of the movies, some of the series that, that say that women empowerment was the main reason for many problems that we're having and we're encountered now in the society. And that's a very bad image, because women empowerment does not mean that a woman will not be a good wife or a good mother, that she will not respect men. On the other hand, women empowerment means that she will be stronger, so that to be able to help the men again to build a better society. So that's why we need to change this negative image.
Yes.
Whenever we mention women empowerment, people have some images, some negative ones, and these are strong and sometimes strong, ugly women, rude, which is not the case. When a woman is empowered, then I think she'll be much better.
Ladies and gentlemen, Egypt does realize the importance of the women's participation within the political life in society in general. Now, let's check out this report regarding Egyptian women's participation within the presidential elections, and we'll be right back.
Egyptian women abroad have played a crucial role in the current presidential elections through their active participation in the voting, as they voted in big numbers amid severe weather conditions, especially in Europe. In fact, the participation of Egyptian women in the electoral process and their keenness to say their opinion is a clear message of significance of the performance of the national duty through the positive and active participation in presidential elections, which will determine the future of the nation. Egyptian women in many countries appeared in long queues despite the severe and cold weather In Tunisia, Egyptian ambassador in Tunis, Ihab Fahmy, praised the wide participation of members of Egyptian community in Tunisia in Egypt 2024 presidential elections, especially women and youth, as they were keen on practicing their constitutional right, a matter that reflects great awareness of national responsibility. The Egyptian diplomat said Egyptian embassy in Tunis continued for 3 consecutive days receiving members of the Egyptian community, and they were keen on casting their ballots on the polls. The election process went smoothly inside the Egyptian embassy's premises, as Egyptians in Tunisia made the election a national celebration, expressing their love and support to the country. Throughout history, women in Egypt have taken part in public and political life. Women have now good representation in local councils and senior management jobs in the government sector. A lack of awareness and interest among political parties towards women participation in the past were among the greatest challenges in achieving gender equality and in moving towards a democratic state. Since the outset of 2011 revolution, women have contributed greatly, standing shoulder to shoulder with men. This was not a new phenomenon, as Egyptian women throughout history have been active participants in revolutions, including the nationalist movement and the struggle for independence. Despite their struggle and participation, women have historically been underrepresented in Egyptian political life. After 2011 revolution, women had very high expectations that the revolution would bring some changes to their political and economic representations. The latest changes to the constitution in 2013 included progressive amendments in Article 11. The constitution states that Egyptian men and women are equal in civil, social, cultural, and economic rights.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, continuing our discussion with Dr. Labib. Now, we're talking about women and their participation within the political life, but also people with special needs. I mean, this month we celebrate people with special needs, and for the elections that took place abroad, there were a lot of efforts for people with special needs, especially people who are blind as well. So what are the efforts being exerted to encourage the participation of people with special needs here in Egypt in the upcoming elections?
I think there will be many types of help in order to support these people, the special needs, and to make them vote, because they are an essential segment in our society. And we've seen that our country, I mean, that makes a lot of effort for the special needs.
Yes.
So I think we will have the support, and we'll see it next week.
Well, these are presidential elections, but over the past, I mean, over the past 10 years or 12 years ago, we've been going through ballot boxes, voting stations, be it presidential elections, constitution, the parliament, the upper and lower houses. So what sort of an experience did Egypt garner through all these previous election processes that we've gone through? What are the things that we learned? What are the obstacles that we overcame? And what are the obstacles and challenges we still need to overcome?
I think a major obstacle or challenge was explaining to people how to vote. That was not easy at the start, you know, because most of us, you know, we were not really trained how to do it. So I think now with the media and the social media that we're all aware of the procedures. And that's a very good point. So that's one of the challenges that I think is already solved. I mean, I'm driving to come here, and then I was very happy that they started on the radio, on many different programs, to explain to the normal people. I mean, they were not targeting the well-educated ones, because we should talk to all the people, all Egyptians, and explaining to them how to vote, how to find the place where to vote, and so on. So that was a very good point and a very good challenge. Speaking of the elderly people, I think that that's, again, a success story. Because elderly people were always kind of, scared to go, because they might face some difficulties. But we've seen, especially in the last time, that there was very good care for the elderly people, and that's something that's very nice.
Yes.
I mean,
that they wouldn't have to stand in queues, and
definitely
they would have,
no queues for them, and they had help from all the people that were there. So that's encouraging them that next week they will go and vote. And that's, again, an important point. They should not feel that they're excluded because they are old, because it's still their country and they do care about it.
Yes.
It's about the sense of belonging. That's very important. I do not perceive challenges till now, and I hope that we will not have any challenges next week. Maybe I'm a little bit too optimistic, but with the last time, I think that things went okay. So, and we learned from the challenges and the mistakes, because definitely there is always room for improvement.
Yes.
So I think that next week things will be even better than the last time.
Do you think, Dr. Labib, that with the current political developments taking place around the world, especially nearby in Gaza, do you feel that people now would actually be much more up for the voting process, much more passionate and enthusiastic about having their say in the political life, participating, having their voice being heard?
Yes, definitely these events, although they're not all good events, but definitely they have a good impact, because people feel that they should go and defend their rights to have a say again regarding the policies in their countries, because they suffered and they're kind of scared of, many things that might happen. So now they're going there and they're more passionate and they're more determined to vote. At least that's what I heard in the last months, and that was that's a very good point, a very positive one.
Yes. Well, obviously, the spotlight is mainly focused on the Israeli conflict with Gaza, but you just got back from New York. How aware is the international community of the political developments taking place on our side of the world? Yes, they do know probably what's happening in Israel and Gaza, but do they know, do they follow up on the presidential elections in Egypt? If they do they have a certain impression of it?
Actually, they have an incomplete image of what's going on here. I was attending there a very important forum. I had 4 sessions to talk about the role of artificial intelligence in public policy, and I had 2 workshops speaking about how to integrate the public policies and how to integrate AI in education and in healthcare in the States. I was in Utah, by the way, and I wasn't very happy to see that not all the people were aware of the achievements. They were not aware of how the elections will be run in Egypt. And I kept on talking about Egypt, and then they started asking me about the elections, how do we do it, what about the vote, what about the programs of the candidates, how do people get to know how to vote, and so on, the challenges that we faced. But I felt that we need to work more on the media and the social media, because they're only getting to know the facts, if we can say facts, from one side. So they cannot see the other side or the other perspective. So although they're having there many seminars and many webinars related to political events, but there are no Egyptians defending the other perspective or the other side. So we should focus more again on the media.
Yes. So is it only the role for the media? For the elections that took place abroad, it took place in about 137 embassies and consulates from 121 countries. But would it be their duty as well to raise that awareness, or this is the the duty for the media and the embassies. They have their own political and foreign relations files that they need to be focusing on. So whose responsibility is that?
I guess the media has the biggest responsibility, although it will be a very smart idea if embassies can have some events so as to explain to the Americans, or, I mean, we're not here targeting Egyptians, because Egyptians know much better their country, or else they wouldn't be there to vote.
Yes.
Okay? But maybe we should classify the target audience, and then since they are not Egyptians, maybe we can talk to them in a different way, a way that is more suitable for them, and trying to illustrate what's going on here. They kept on asking me about what was achieved in the last few years.
Yes.
They kept on explaining to them, and I felt, you know, I felt happy in a way that I was talking about my country, and by the way, I felt very proud because we had many achievements. Although we still have some challenges, we're facing some challenges, but that's normal, but we achieved a lot. So there should be someone talking about the achievements. So maybe a good idea will be conducting some awareness campaigns there, some events, and talk about Egypt with mere facts, stating mere facts, having, you know, numbers even from different international entities, from the World Bank, that will show what we achieved and what we're still struggling with.
Yes.
The pros and cons, which is very normal in any country.
Dr. Labib, if there are, I mean, yes, we do understand that people should exercise their political rights and go and vote, but if there are people who are still sitting on the fence, they're not sure if they want to go and cast their votes or not. So what do we do, or how can you convince citizens who are still I mean, they're sitting on the fence? How do you encourage them to go down to the polling station and cast their votes?
Maybe we can take as an example last time and explain to them what happened when we voted, and then when we started having a say, when we started talking about our problems, talking about our challenges, trying to find some solutions, and having a say, having an impact. Because some of them feel that no need to go, we have no impact, we're not politicians. And we started, you know, explaining to them, it's not the idea of being a politician. You can have a role, you can have an impact based on your job, based on your, I mean, you definitely have a task, have a role in your country. So maybe we should focus on this, and again, the role of the media.
Yes. Well, over the past few elections, we've seen with each and every single time an improvement in picking the dates and securing the voting stations, preparing them for the people with special needs, for the elderly, cordoning off the streets, making it safe and secure. How far, I mean, are all these also encouraging signs for citizens to go and vote, that people would actually, they wouldn't waste too much time actually going and voting? It's not a time-consuming process. They
know very well that they will not, I mean, waste their time in all cases, because that's important. But maybe they should get to know that they have a role, and they should be responsible, they should be accountable for their votes, and that it counts. Sometimes they feel that we're millions, so what does it make if I don't go? I mean, it's okay.
Yes.
But it's not okay, and they're sometimes neutral, and they're waiting for the results. So they should be more proactive and more positive, and go and say their opinion.
Yes.
At least they think that that's their country. So again, maybe working on the sense of belonging, and maybe working more on illustrating for them and explaining for them how their opinion counts and what they can do afterwards.
Well, I mean, the final results would be unveiled in, I mean, mid-January. But do you feel that, I mean, what about the voting abroad? Will the results of the voting abroad be disclosed as soon as the vote counting is concluded, or would they wait until the end of the first phase of the elections?
They will definitely come with the results and the indicators by the end of the week. but we have definitely to wait till Jan for the final results.
Yes.
But at least they will have indicators.
Is it usually people more inclined to participate during the second phases, for instance? Is the turnout higher in the second phase as opposed to the first phase, or is it the other way around, or there are no real rules for or trends for it?
I mean, there are no trends. It all depends on the results of the first phase, the first stage. So it remains to be seen. But I don't really see a huge difference.
Yes. Well, electoral silence will be observed starting Thursday, so no campaigning will be taking place. Is that enough time from now till Thursday to actually change something or have last-minute sort of change of strategy for campaigners or from the government to encourage people and empower and encourage the women and people with special needs to go down and vote, or is it too soon?
Definitely, there is always, a way to make things better. But again, we should look at the results. We should examine the results and then maybe apply again the data analytics in order to know why did we come with these results, and then take this experience and make things better for the elections here in Egypt. So maybe we can adjust some of the strategies based on the results that we will know by Thursday, inshallah.
Well, we still have to go to the polling stations and vote, but if we're talking about using advanced technology and artificial intelligence, how far is Egypt from implementing a technological voting process like the ones that take place in different places within the international community, is going to electronic booths, voting electronically instead of going to the actual ballot boxes in some countries?
I think we can implement any AI initiative or IT because we're kind of ready. It's not like before. I mean, regarding the infrastructure is much better. The mindset of people who are accepting the deal to deal with technology. It's not like before. They did not trust technology, but now they do. The use of the social media, the use of different AI tools, I think it's already there. So if you go for, let's say, a simple SWOT analysis, so you find many strengths there. Whether the software that has to be used, which is already there, the infrastructure, the mindset, maybe we should update the regulations.
Yes.
Maybe
Well,
that's what we focus on.
yes. Well, during I think the last American presidential elections, there was a lot of commotion and sort of criticism regarding a lot of the electronic vote counting that took place, and they said, well, there was a manipulation by another country within the electronic process of it. So are such problems still there, or that's just history?
It's just history, because whenever you go through any presidential election, then afterwards you have to identify the pros and cons, and then you have to face that you had some drawbacks and then work on it. So, and that's the model that we should follow, by the way.
So how far are we from using such a model?
I think we're very close of using the model. Maybe that's, I mean, we're ready to do it. If we do it or not, that's that's related to the decision taker, and that has many other criteria, not only being ready to make use of IT, because we have some cultural aspects, we have some political aspects that should be considered. But from my point of view, as an AI expert, we can do it. It is doable for us. But what about the society? Maybe again, we should make use of AI in order to predict how the society will perceive it. Will they be pro or against?
And would it even work if that is applied in certain places, in certain voting stations, polling stations, or in certain governorates where the pressure might not be as high, or the population or the number of voters wouldn't be as high? So just to, as a mock trial, for instance.
Maybe a good idea will be to allow both ways, traditional ones and technological ones, so that maybe you can choose. Maybe you prefer the e-voting, but
Yes.
as long as we're ready, especially regarding the security and the privacy,
Yes.
the confidentiality of the votes, that's one of the main threats
Yes.
that we might face. So as long as we provide a good environment, then maybe we can allow the citizens to make use of e-vote or traditional one.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, definitely very interesting times here in Egypt. On the 10th, 11th and 12th, voting will be taking place for the presidential elections here this month, the first phase of the elections. And everybody is encouraged, men, women, the youth, the elderly, people with special needs, everybody should be encouraged to go and exercise their political vote. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. Before we go, I'd like to thank my distinguished guest, Dr. Nevine Makram Labib, the Professor of Artificial Intelligence and Director of the Social and Cultural Planning Center at the Institute of National Planning. Dr. Labib, always a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure is all mine.
Thank you very much, Dr. Labib. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Nile International. I'm Henny Saif. Thank you for joining us.